Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I decided to dig into my Paige Evans stash and use another older collection for today's layout, and this is the Bloom Street collection. And I decided to go with this paper right off the bat. I don't think I ever used it back in the day when this collection was released, and I'm going to use this really cute pool photo today because I feel like the blues in the photo match some of the blues in this paper really well. And I decided to go with a cut file. This is one of Paige's older cut files called Sunburst. And I think I've used it once before, but I just love it. It looks so summery, and with this paper, it just looks really cool. You get all the fun colors. And my ideas completely changed when I pulled this off the cutting mat, because look at the actual background paper there. I think that looks really cool. So I thought maybe I'll use that instead of the actual cut file. And then I tried a couple of cardstocks behind it. I go back and forth between the cut file and then the rest of the paper. And I love both of them. I go back and forth. I could not decide. I thought, what if I used the pattern paper with the cut file back on top of it just for some added texture? And then what if I turned it a little bit so the colors were mismatched? I just like all of it. I couldn't decide. I took a long time off camera to figure out what I wanted to do, and I still couldn't decide. So for now, we're going to prep this sheet of white cardstock with some clear gesso because I'm definitely going to do some mixed media. And at this point in time, I'm going to use this white background with the actual cut file with some mixed media. So this is clear gesso. It's the Art Basics Finnabair. I'll let that dry, and then I decided, no, I'm going to change my mind again, and I'm going to use the rest of the pattern paper. So what I'm going to do is just glue it down to this white cardstock and kind of go from there. Even though I already covered it with clear gesso, it's okay, because I'm still going to add some mixed media to that section anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down, and then this is going to be my background. And this is a hot mess right here because I glued it down crooked, and the glue was already drying. So yeah, this is painful to watch, but I eventually get it straight. Yeah, I thought I was going to rip the paper. Make sure it's straight before you add the glue. Yeah. Anyway, I finally got it glued down. And this paper, you know, it was kind of wavy and warped slightly once I finally got this all glued down, because there was, you know, all the gesso and then all the glue. But once it dried, I just placed a really heavy box over it or on top of it all night long, and then the next morning it was completely flattened out. So, but I'm going to try to bring the actual Sunburst and place it back on top of where it was cut out to kind of create this fun texture look. But I wanted to fade out some of the edges of the background because this is a very busy pattern paper, and I kind of wanted to show how you can definitely use a busy pattern paper, but this is kind of how I like to soften it up. And you can see here how this turned out. I just scraped down a lot of white gesso so you can still see the color and the pattern. It's just very soft and kind of hazy and faded. And then I'm going to come back with the cut file, and you're going to be able to see it really pop off the page because it's still the true color, and it's gonna kind of contrast with the faded look of the background. And I'm gonna try to put the photo kind of on the lower left quadrant so it kind of blends in with the blue section. It just kind of reminds me of an extension of the water. And that's what I'm going to do here with adding this mixed media. This is Shimmers, and this is a newer color to me. It's called Slow Ocean. And I'm just going to add a little bit to this bottom area where you're going to be able to see it kind of coming below the photo. Kind of looks like the water kind of spilled out of the photo and onto the page. And so I'm going to do a little bit of that here. And some of it's going to be on the white circle area, and then some of it's going to be on the pattern paper. But it all works out because of the gesso. You know, I added the gesso onto both the white area and the pattern paper, and so it's prepped for liquids and paints and things. And so I'm just using my brush, a little bit of water to kind of spread it around a little bit. And I'm just trying to, like I said, mimic the water in the photo. And I love how that looks. This is a shimmer spray called Hint of Mint, and really pretty color. My nozzle was clogged because I haven't used this color in forever. Sometimes if you don't use the shimmers in a long time, or for a long time, the powders in there get kind of settled, and then they get kind of clogged up in the nozzle, so you have to unclog it. So that's what I need to do. But and I decided to go with some yellow up at the top, because I feel like the yellow up at the top sort of mimics sunshine. And then in this collection, there are a couple of different sunshine stickers and die cuts and things that I'm going to use for embellishments. And so I didn't want to add more blue at the top to mimic a sky, because I've already got a lot of blue at the bottom with the water. And I think it works out in the end, but I don't want to cover up all of the white space. I want to leave a big chunk of the white space over on the right side of the circle, because in a background situation like this where everything is a pattern or a color or it's super busy, I want to always leave a little bit of white area there to kind of give your eye a blank spot to rest from all of the busyness going on. And I feel like doing that kind of helps draw your eye to the photo and help it stand out on its own, but it also kind of makes a section of the layout just kind of open and lets it breathe a little bit, if that makes any sense. I'm adding a little bit of pink here. I didn't want to do too much pink. I just started off with a little bit of splatters, and that is a shimmer's called Sweetheart. This blue, no, that's not blue. Where did I get that from? The yellow spray. I didn't tell you the color that I'm using for the yellow spray. It's two different colors. I'm using one called Mustard Seed and one called Glorious Day. The Glorious Day is kind of a golden yellow color. And then the Mustard Seed is more of a brighter yellow. And so, yeah, I'm just going to work on those two colors with a little bit of pink added in. And you'll be able to see all of the different finishes from all these different paints once it's all dry. I'm going to hold it up so you'll be able to see the different shimmer factors in how they look when they're dry. The shimmers that are in the little pots here that I'm using are super shimmery, almost glittery when they're dry. Really, really pretty in the end. And so I got it dry. I flattened it out a little bit more so you can see there it's definitely not warped much at all, but you can see the different shimmers there. The sprays dry differently than the paints and the pots. I decided to put the cut file back into exactly where it was cut out so the colors do match up, but I think it looks really cool that you can still see it against the background because of the faded effects of where I added the gesso around the edges. And I think what really makes a big difference is this right here. I take a little bit of adhesive foam and I cut it really, really thin and place it around the circle and pop this up off the page. And then I let the little sun's rays part kind of bend up off the page, and it just really brings it to life. I think it looks really cool, and I just love the effect of it. And when I first started this idea or started this layout, this did not even pop into my mind. You know, I was just going to use the white background with the sunshine and kind of figure it out from there, but this is where we wound up. And that's what I love about this hobby is, you know, a lot of times you wind up with something that you hadn't even planned on, and then you wind up liking it better. It's just like a new idea is born as you go, and that's one of my favorite things about scrapbooking is you just never know what you're going to end up with. So I'm just going to work a little bit of pink over on the right, so it's very, very soft, very faint, just a little bit, and I'm going to soften it up with some water and dab a little bit of it up so it's pretty subtle, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to cover up all of the white space. I do want to leave a lot of it white, but I do like the effect of this watercolor effect on the background. I am going to come in with some white splatters just because I love doing the white splatters, and I think it just adds another level of texture and another level of the whole faded soft look with the white on top of these colors. And so I just like to use white acrylic paint. It's nothing fancy, just white craft paint with a little bit of water added to it, and so it's a little bit thinner and easier to splatter. And you know, you can get the crisp white look, or you could get the faded soft look, depending on if you just let it dry as is, or if you dab it up with a napkin, or if you roll your roll of paper towels over it while it's still wet. You can get different effects from the white acrylic paint, and I always love how both of those effects look. I'm going to go ahead and glue the sun down because I know its position is not going to change. I know where it's going to go, and I want to start to work on everything else on the layout. So I'm going to go ahead and get that glued down, and now you're really going to be able to see how it just kind of pops up off the page now that it has the adhesive foam under there. It just creates this fun shadowing effect. It gives it a nice 3D look. And even though it blends in with the background, it also stands out at the same time. So these parts are still able to kind of curl up off the page, and I love that. So we're going to go with that. And then I'm going to start working on the photo. I'm going to layer in a little bit of white tissue paper behind the photo there just to give it a little bit of a layer, because I'm not going to layer in a bunch of pattern papers or anything. But I do like the idea of having some kind of layer behind the photo, and tissue paper is great because it's subtle, but it's still something that's just a fun detail, but it's not something that's going to take away from anything. I just like the look of that. And then I'm going to come in with some flowers. I've pulled out some flowers from the ephemera floral die cut pack, and I'm also going to fussy cut some flowers from this paper, which is paper number 12. And I don't think I mentioned the paper, the background paper with the cut file, with the kaleidoscope looking paper. That's paper number 22. I'm also going to go through the cardstock stickers, the sticker book. I'm going to use this fun little bright sunshiny sun sticker, and right now it's going to go behind the photo there. I'm going to wind up adjusting some things, but I'm looking for pink, blue, and yellow flowers to kind of reiterate the color from the background. I'm going to add, I think there's only a couple of the blue flowers, but there's one in the die cut pack, and then there's one in well, I guess this is another one from the die cut pack, but it's got more things attached to it, so I'm just going to cut off what I don't want. And so I just have the blue flower there, and kind of scatter those around the perimeter of the circle and around the photo mostly. I don't want to cover up all the white space. I don't want to cover up a lot of the sunburst, but I do want to layer in some things. So that's what I'm going to work on now. I do trim a little bit of the white border around the sunshine sticker just to make it a little more, so it doesn't stand out as much. I am going to pop the photo up with some adhesive foam there so it matches the same height as the sunburst. And then I'm just going to continue working on the embellishments because I do want some of these flowers to overlap on top of the photo there, because there is some space, but I don't want to crowd the photo too much. I like that the photo has that open space around their bodies, and I don't want to crowd it. I feel like the open space in the photo kind of helps the photo stand out and be a great photo. And if I crowd it too much with stuff, you kind of lose the effect of the photo. So I'm just going to keep working on the flowers and careful placement of them where I feel like everything is still visible while still embellishing with stuff. I decided to create some clouds. I felt like since we have a pool a pool photo. We have a sunshine, sort of, water and sunny sky. I felt like some clouds would really top this off. So I just grabbed a sheet of cardstock, white cardstock that I'd used for something else, and then just kind of fussy cut some little clouds out. And I've done this on many, many layouts. I love making little clouds. I just think they kind of add to the scene. If I'm making, I wouldn't call this a landscape, but, I have things where it makes sense to have a sun and a sky and some clouds. And so I'm going to kind of layer them, some on top of the cut file, some behind the cut file. And I think this just really makes the layout. I think the clouds are super cute and they're easy to add. And they don't have to be perfect because, they're all uneven and different sizes and things. And I think they're cute. And then to add some texture to the clouds, I just use a gray gelato and kind of smudge it around the edges, and then get my finger a little wet, just dip it in a little splash of water there and kind of smudge the color so the clouds have a little bit of a shadow effect. And then I run it through my edge distressor there to kind of ruffle up the edges just to create some texture so they're not just solid flat white and they look a little more realistic. And I do pop some of them up with adhesive foam to create, different heights depending on where they are, if they're on top of the cut file or behind it. And then I'm going to come in with some thread. I decided to go with a darker teal aqua color underneath the photo there. And it's just going to be kind of slightly visible. It's not going to be something that's going to just darken up that space, but I felt like if I wanted it to be seen at all, it needed to be a little bit darker because I do have a lighter color, but you couldn't really see it. So we're going to go with a darker color, and it's the center of the blue flowers. It's that same color, and so it just kind of echoes that color there underneath the photo. And the thread is great because it just adds some texture, it adds some extra color and some detail that I just love. It kind of adds to the whole messy mixed media idea. And it's just one of my favorite things. What can I say? I'm going to go ahead and glue down the clouds because I know they're not going to move. That's where I want them to go. And just make sure that everything else is glued down. And I don't really want to add a whole lot more. I want to leave the pattern parts alone. I want to leave the white space alone. And I don't want to overcrowd the photo anymore. Just going to get it all glued down and try to start thinking of a title. And, I don't really have a lot of space for a title, so it's going to have to be small. I did decide to add another sun because I wanted something over on the right upper area with the pink section. And I decided to switch out the suns because the sticker that I already glued down is a little bit smaller than this die cut. So I know this is kind of crazy, but I'm going to use 2 suns. Usually there's just one, but we're going to go with 2 because who cares, right? You can do what you want to. It's your layout. So I'm going to move the sticker over to the right and then layer the die cut sticker behind the photo where the sticker was. And I feel like that kind of adds just what that section needed over on the pink. And I like it. I think it works. I'm going to look for some smaller bits here. I'm going to go with a couple of these sentiments that have the silver foiling on them from the cardstock stickers. And I like that they're white, so they're going to kind of help emphasize the whole idea of light and airy effects. And I'm going to use a couple of these. I just try to decide where to put them. Do I want to put it in the clouds or do I want to stick it near the photo or around the flowers? Just not sure. So I play around with a couple of different placements with those stickers. And I do layer a couple of smaller flowers here and there just for some dimension and height. Some from Fussy cut from that other paper that I was cutting from earlier. And just try to scatter the colors around the layout and make sure that the flowers are kind of represented all around the circle without being overkill. And I still want it to look kind of random, where like the flowers just kind of, that's where they landed, so to speak. And so I'm going to get those in, get those glued down. And I think I needed one more yellow flower, so I'm going to cut that out. And I wanted to make sure that, you know, there was some yellow down at the bottom and there was some pink up at the top, kind of make sure all the colors were spread around. But here's what we've got so far. I really like the textures. I like the dimension. Everything's kind of popped off the page a little bit there. And then the title, I'm going to go small. So I'm going to go with these puffy word stickers from the Bloom Street collection. And I was looking for something small. So, and I liked that this was pink because I felt like that was the color that needed to go there. And I'll make sure it's straight because, you know, I never get the letters straight. But since the photo was crooked, I wanted my title to be straight. And then I'm going to mix and match in these little white puffy foam thickers. These are from the Pick Me Up collection. Love these. I think I have multiple packs of these stickers because they are the perfect little white foam sticker for titles. Are great. I'm going to add in some more of the yellow thread up at the top. Well, actually, I think I mentioned the yellow thread, but I hadn't done it yet earlier. But I've got the blue thread in a couple spots, and then the yellow, I just thought I would add a little bit more texture up here underneath the sun. And then I'm going to come in with some details with some sequins. And these are from my stash. They're from Spiegelmom's Scraps. I'm going to add some matching sequins in different colors and sizes to the flowers and then around the page. And then here you can see, I even put some on top of the photo to kind of look like that. They blend in with the pool, the water. I love that. I love sequins. Sequins are a great detail to add at the end of your layout. Final thing, I'm going to add my journaling. I decided to use my metallic gold pen, even though there's silver foiling on some of these embellishments. I'm going to mix and match, and we're going to do some gold. So it's all good. Anything shiny works for me. And then, you know, if I use my gold pen, I got to have some gold splatters. So that's our final touch. And that's the gold glitter spray from Jen Hadfield, which is basically the Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine. And that is it. I love how this layout turned out. I was pleasantly surprised, even though this started out as a super busy pattern paper. I think I was able to make it less busy and still have the photo stand out against all that pattern. And I hope this kind of explains how you can most definitely use a busy pattern paper as a background. You just have to kind of look at it in a unique and different way. And don't be afraid to blend some of it out with some gesso, or maybe only use half of it. Or in this case, you know, I was able to use this the big white circle in the middle that kind of helped to give some blank space to all that pattern. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this and got some ideas. I'll link everything down below that's still available. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.